The DW-291 is one of the toughest and also one of the largest non-G-Shock watches that Casio makes. Its credentials come written on its face with HD standing for heavy duty. But there's a new kid in town. The recently released AE-1600 is also being marketed by Casio as having, and I quote, an oversized case featuring a heavy duty design with large angular LCD display that makes it easy to read time and function settings. So it looks like the AE-1600 has arrived to pick a fight with the DW-291, but which one is better? These two watches are not for those looking for a timepiece that blends into the background. They're bold, have plenty of wrist presence, and both come with a 10-year battery for years of dutiful service. If you're in the market for either of these two watches, this video may help you to decide. To figure out which one is better, I'm going to judge them in terms of their price, design, build quality, features, and comfort. The winner of that round will receive a point, and at the end of the video the winner will be the one with the most points. The first round is price, and the recommended retail price for the AE-1600 is $35.95 US. It's a relatively new watch, first released in February 2025, so you should expect to pay the full retail price or just over. As supplies increase, I would expect the price to drop to $30 US as retailers drop their prices later down the line. But for now we'll stick with the recommended price of $35.95. The recommended price for the DW-291 is $42.95 US. However, this watch has been released for a good few years now, and you should be able to get it for less than that, depending upon the variant, if you shop around. But for now we'll stick with the recommended price of $42.95. For having a lower price point, the winner of this round is the AE-1600, and for this it gets 1 point. The next round is design, and the DW-291 has an octagonal and square-shaped case. This measures 50.5mm in height, 50.4mm wide, and is 13.5mm deep. The display is surrounded by a bezel that's held down by 4 real screws, and there is also a faceplate over the LCD display, the colour of which depends upon the version that you choose. The LCD is divided into 3 sections. The top right section is an analog representation of the time. The top section either shows the day and date or the time zone that you're looking at. The lower section shows the time, and there is even a seconds bar graph in the middle of the display. The most contentious design feature of the DW-291 is the cylindrical shaped button guards surrounding the push buttons. People either love or hate this feature, but it's a design element that's been carried over from its predecessor, the DW-290. The AE-1600 has more of a rectangular appearance when compared to the DW-291, and its sloped corners almost makes it octagonal. It also has screws on its face that's in a contrasting colour to the case, but this time they are imitation and not real screws being used. The underside of the case is also in a contrasting colour to the upper side, which is a nice touch. Protrusions on the side act as button guards, and the backlight button has been moved to the front. The star feature of this watch are the large LCD digits. Visibility is excellent when viewed outside, but stick with the positive display version if you want good legibility indoors as well. Overall, the case dimensions are 54.1mm in length, 49.7mm in width, and 15.9mm deep. Choosing a winner for the design round is quite tricky, and not all of you will agree with me, but I believe that the AE-1600 is conventionally better looking than the DW-291. I do applaud Casio for being bold with the design of the DW-291, but it does take some time to get used to, and so the point for design goes to the AE-1600. Third round is build quality, and the DW-291 blurs the line between standard Casio and the more premium G-Shock line. In hand, its 63 grams of weight feels solid, and I do believe Casio's claim that this watch has 200 meters of water resistance. Its rigidity and water resistance is also aided by the mineral glass crystal the watch comes with, and nothing creaks on this watch when worn on the wrist or a button is pressed. The only thing that Casio has held back on, preventing it from being a fully fledged G-Shock, is an extra layer around the module for shock absorption. The AE-1600 weighs more than 10 grams less than the DW-291 at 52 grams. Its water resistance at 100 meters is higher than standard Casios, but is only half of that on the DW-291. For the crystal, this watch uses acrylic rather than mineral glass, and the screws on the face are imitation rather than genuine screws. When worn on the wrist, the AE-1600 does feel solid, with no creaks coming from the straps, but I did notice a creaking noise when the backlight button is pressed. I would describe the build quality of the AE-1600 as being the same as standard Casios, which is not a bad thing as they are generally built very well. However, the DW-291's build quality does feel like it's from a class above, and for that reason the point for build quality goes to the DW-291. Next round is features, and both watches come with all the features you should expect from a digital watch to make it useful. The AE-1600 uses a 3570 module, and this is powered by a single CR2032 cell, which should last 10 years on average. This module has a dual time feature, a stopwatch with a measuring capacity of 24 hours, a countdown timer with a maximum measuring range of 24 hours. It also has 5 alarms, one of which is a snooze alarm, and auto calendar until the year 2099, so there's no need to adjust it for leap years. And as mentioned earlier, water resistance rating for this watch is 100 meters. One slight drawback to the module that I can see is that there is no way to silence the beep on button operations. I could be wrong on this, so let me know if you have figured it out. Inside the DW-291 is a 3484 module, and it uses a CR2025 battery, which should also last 10 years on average. This module has the same 5 alarms, countdown timer and stopwatch features as the AE-1600, but it beats the AE-1600 with the dual time feature. On the AE-1600, the second time zone has to be set manually. With the DW-291 there's no need to do that because there are 38 time zones from 48 cities all around the world programmed into the watch. A useful feature if you're a frequent traveller or have relatives living abroad. Another useful feature that the DW-291 has is the inclusion of an analog display. This continues to display the local time even if you're using other features such as the stopwatch or countdown timer. Both watches are pretty solid when it comes to their features, but the DW-291 has dwell time and an analog face built in, which might make it more useful for some people. The point in this features round goes to the DW-291. The last round is comfort, and to see which one is the most comfortable on the wrist, I wore each of these watches for 1 week each continuously. Here's how the DW-291 looks on the wrist. And here's how the AE-1600 looks on the wrist. Both these watches can be worn all day long without too much trouble. That is, providing you don't tie the strap too tightly. They both use the same strap, and I'd imagine that in warmer temperatures the wideness of the strap may cause your wrists to sweat, so wearing them loosely is the preferable option. One other thing with the DW-291 is that if you wear it too low down on your wrist, the large buttons may press against the back of your hand. Choosing the winner for the category of comfort is a close call, considering that both watches feel similar on the wrist. But the buttons on the AE-1600 are less likely to press into the back of your hand than those on the DW-291, so it wins the point in this round. The DW-291 won the rounds for build quality and features. But the AE-1600 won the rounds for price, design and comfort, and is therefore the overall winner in this Casio heavy duty battle. Thanks for watching folks, let me know if you agree with the result, and I'll catch you next time.